This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, it's a great honor to be here in the Monosteriotone Shul, one of the shuls that survived the Holocaust. As we heard, a very high percentage of the community, unfortunately, was killed in the Holocaust. I want to just take a few moments to speak about one of the luminaries that lived here in Solonika. This is a Torah sage that we're all familiar with his works. Anyone who learned in yeshiva heard of the Lechem Mishna. Lechem Mishna is one of the classic commentaries on the Rambam. Rabbi Avraham Bitton. Now, most people cannot distinguish between the Kesef Mishnah, the Maggid Mishnah, and the Lechem Mishnah. I mean, if you ask somebody who learned yeshiva, which one is more authoritative? Which one do we follow? Who wrote what? Well, the Kesef Mishnah was written by the Beis Yosef. That we know. That's the Beis Yosef's commentary on the Rambam. The Lechem Mishnah is Rabbi Avraham Bitton. He's a student of the Marashtam, Rav Shmuel di Modina, who is a student of Rabbi Yosef Taitachak. Okay. Now, Rabbi Avraham Bitton, he's a student of Marashtam. He's also a Chavrusa of Maharam Kali. We're going to talk about Maharam Kali in a moment. Now, Rabbi Avraham Bitton, if you look in the Chida and the Shem HaGedolim, many people have misread this line in the Shem HaGedolim. Shem HaGedolim writes that Rabbi Avraham Bitton chiber shtei halechem avad lechem rav mitshuvos v'lechem Mishna chibur nichbar al Rambam. So many people mistakenly understand it to mean that Rabbi Avraham Bitton wrote 3 books. Book number 1, you should have the sheet. I want to show you inside. Many people read it. He wrote the book Shtei HaLechem. He wrote the book Avad Lechem Rav, which is his Tshuvos. And he wrote the Sefer Lechem Mishna. The only thing is, you could look far and wide. There is no Sefer Shtei HaLechem. But people say Rabbi Avraham Bitton wrote the famous Sefer Shtei HaLechem. There is no Sefer Shtei HaLechem. You will never find a Sefer Shtei HaLechem. It's the Chida's poetic license. The Chida is saying he wrote Shtei HaLechem, 2 works with the word Lechem in it. Number 1, Avad Lechem Rav, and number 2, Lechem Mishna. Now, if you look in the Lechem Mishna, Soif Perek Yud Aleph of Hilchos Tefillah, the Lechem Mishna says that in the year 1575, he got a hold of the Kesef Mishnah. Now, when he started writing Lechem Mishnah, why was he writing Lechem Mishnah on the Rambam? Because the Rambam never wrote sources. The Rambam writes halachas, and we never know where did the Rambam get this from. So the Lechem Mishnah was giving us the Makarius of the Rambam, but then he got a hold of the Kesef Mishnah, and the Kesef Mishnah already did that. So in 1575, when he got up to Perek Yud Aleph Hilchos Tefillah, he stopped writing Makarius for the Rambam, and from there on, he writes Torahs on the Rambam. The Lechem Mishnah is not used so much. It's not used so much. When I say that, I mean, we don't always or usually follow what he says, like we do the Kesef Mishnah and the Maggid Mishnah. There are a few reasons for that. One reason is, there are certain rules that we know the Rambam followed that we're not sure why the Lechem Mishnah wasn't using. I'll just give you 2 quick examples. There's a famous theory in the Rambam. The Rambam's most noted rule is that when it comes to midos, you shouldn't be extreme. You should go b'derech hamamutza, right? The middle path. Everybody knows, the golden path. But the Rambam famously applies this to all midos, including anger, and including arrogance. And that's what the Rambam writes in Perek Aleph. And in Perek Beis, the Rambam says, there are 2 midos that you do need to go to the extreme. What are they? Kas and anivos. So it's a famous theory in the Rambam. In other words, when it comes to humility and anger, should you take a moderate approach, or should you go to the extreme, be very humble? Should you go to extreme and be very calm? So the Lechem Mishnah tries to answer this theory in the Rambam. But if you look in the Or Sameach, the Or Sameach says, theory in the Rambam? Look in the Parish HaMishnayos. In the Parish HaMishnayos, the Rambam says, basically, Mid'oraisa, you should always go to extreme, even by kas, even by gaiva. It's a gezerah d'Rabbanan that we have to go to. You should always take the middle path. But it's a gezerah d'Rabbanan not to go to, not to take the moderate path for gaiva, and we have to go ma'oid ma'oid havishvo ruach. So in other words, for some reason, the Lechem Mishnah did not follow what the Rambam said in the Parsha Mishnayos. Even though we know, now that we have the Parsha Mishnayos, that the Rambam will often be following what he said in the Parsha Mishnayos. Here's another rule. What's the halacha if you have machlekes Bavli Yushalmi? What's the halacha? What do you follow? Bavli or Yushalmi? The Rif writes, you always follow the Bavli. Many times the Lechem Mishnah will ask a stira between the Rambam and the Bavli. But the Gra teaches us that the Rambam will sometimes follow the Yushalmi over the Bavli. But for some reason, Lechem Mishnah doesn't work with that idea of the Gra. I want to end with two interesting points. Rabbi Avraham Bitton was a student of the Marashdam. He was a chavrusa of Maram Kali that we mentioned before. Maram Kali had a student. Did you ever hear this name? Rav David Conforto. Rav David Conforto was the author of Koirei Hadoros. The Koirei Hadoros says that he's not happy with the Lechem Mishnah. He says that his Rebbe, Maram Kali, told him that almost everything in the Lechem Mishnah, the Lechem Mishnah took from the Chidushim of Maram Kali when Maram Kali learned the Rambam with the Lechem Mishnah, and whatever came out in that Seder from Maram Kali, the Lechem Mishnah recorded it, but it's really from Maram Kali. That's what the Koirei Hadoros writes. So that's one interesting point. But another interesting point is Esther mentioned that in 1917 there was a big fire here in Solonika. This I was unaware of. In the year Shemama is 1625. The entire city burnt down. Right? Is that the correct date?
Yes, it is the circle of the story of the Solonika.
But what's most notable is the day of the year the city burnt down. Solonika burnt down in 1625 on Tisha B'Av. And I was shocked by that because we always say all the tragedies that happened on Tisha B'Av. World War I broke out on Tisha B'Av. The Jews were expelled from England on Tisha B'Av. The Jews were expelled from France on Tisha B'Av in hundreds of years ago. And for some reason, we never list the conflagration of Solonika on Tisha B'Av. So I think that's something we have to think about. In fact, the Koirei Hadoros writes, you have it on your sheet at number 9, that his Rebbe Maram Kali wrote many, many Svarim and many, many Chidushim. And in 1625, when almost all the Shuls and all the Bati Midrashim and all the Svarim burnt down, all the writings of his Rebbe Maram Kali burnt down on Tisha B'Av. Okay, one last thing. It's Erev Shabbos. The Lechem Mishnah of Rabbi Bitton passed away on Erev Shabbos. It was getting very close to Shabbos. They didn't have the timing down like Avir tours where, we're able to be like nichnas into Kemat. We have it down to a science. But back then, they came back from the Levaya of Avraham Bitton and they were choishesh that maybe they were Mechala Shabbos in the Hespedim and the Klura. So it seems like a miracle happened. That on their way home from the burial of Avraham Bitton, the sun came out and it shone to be menachem them that in fact it was not the Shabbat yet, and then they were able to makabel Shabbos with a clear conscience that they didn't desecrate the Shabbos in the final honor of Rabbi Avraham Bitton. So this is one of the great Gedolim that lived here in Solonika, and he was nifter on Erev Shabbos. Zechusa Yagin Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael. Thank you very much.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.